Hi, welcome to Democracy for the World. My name is Frank and I'm going to be teaching you about democracy. What is democracy? Democracy is a system of government that is chosen by the people of that country. So democracy is more than just voting. Look at the last 20 years in Egypt. People keep voting for the same leader by the name of Mubarak and nothing happened. Why do you want democracy? Democracy is a system that will allow people to work together, compromise, and will respect the majority of the people who vote for something that will be implemented. Now, there are other aspects of democracy, but most importantly is that power is in the hands of the people, not in the hands of the government. That is a very important concept. Now, I will talk a little bit about the effects of democracy. For example, if people work together and they compromise, then they will have a peaceful nation, and that peaceful nation will allow business owners to create more businesses, create jobs, prosperity, and wealth for the people. So everyone benefit, and not just the rich, but the poor and the working people as well. Another reason why you want democracy is for a practical reason. If you have peace and prosperity, you'll be able to build automobiles, airplanes, ships, and trains that will be good for your society and good for the world. Middle East has been in wars for the last 3,000 years, and I hope the people are tired of wars. If the Middle East has a lasting peace, which will produce prosperity and wealth for everyone in the region. Secret to the United States material success is that the last war it had on its soil was in 1865, 150 years ago, and it had peace for this long to develop businesses, products, new ideas in democracy. People have been able to pass on their wealth to their future generations without being destroyed by wars. Americans have been able to try to work out their differences in politics, religions, social classes, regional differences, and basically focusing on business and creating jobs. I'm not affiliated with anyone in the government, any institution of education, or any group or any political party. I would like to teach the world about politics and democracy, and most importantly, the truth. I don't want to teach you certain biases based on your economic, social, ethnic, religion, or racial differences. Everything I tell you, you should go ahead and verify by reading books and educating yourself. Never trust anyone about anything regarding a fact. When you're verifying a fact, you are educating yourself. When I was in college, I would go to the library to verify facts that I've learned to make sure my professors are not lying. You should verify everything that your politicians are doing to keep them honest. If you're educating yourself in the process, you're going to arrive at the truth. I was born and raised in a country called Burma. Our family came to the United States when I was about 15 years old. This is when I learned about democracy. I grew up in a military dictatorship, so I know what it's like to live under a military dictatorship that you're living under. Democracy is a much better form of government because you have a chance to make the society better without relying on your dictator. Here is my diploma to show you that I'm more than qualified. I will show you that diploma later on to teach you about democracy. I have a slide presentation on what I'm going to be discussing to show things even more clear. Always ask your leaders and have them show you their diploma about their education. Now I want to talk a little about the importance of education. Without university education, you cannot have a technologically advanced society. Here is a symbol of a door with a key, and if you want to unlock this door or any door, You'll need an education in science, engineering, medicine, and technology, and most of all, education in democracy. That means you have to learn about philosophers and political theorists and what they had to say about freedom and democracy and liberty. So you can create democratic society with the basic understanding of what you're doing, why you are doing, and where the ideas came from. That is why study of political science is very important. I don't want you to become a political scientist, but you must understand the foundation of democracy. You will use that knowledge to build a better and just democratic society. Now I want to talk a little bit about shifting power in the world history. This is a great news for mankind and individual person. If you study history of the world, from pharaohs to kings and monarchs, for the last 2,000 or 3,000 years, power has been shifting slowly from these absolute monarchs and pharaohs to the people and individual. Now we have a lot of democratic societies around the world, and if you understand that democracy requires power to be in the hands of the people, and if you look at this pyramid, which I'll show you later, first you have on the top kings and royal family and the rich people in the society. On the bottom, people who work for a living and could be killed or unjustly treated. As time went on in 1776, the United States declared its independence from England, and you have the beginning of power shifting from monarchs and kings to the people. It has taken 200 years for the United States to firmly establish democracy where no military would take over the country like it just happened in Egypt. If the people in Egypt learn about democracy and work together, you can get back your democracy and power given back to the people. One of the most important things about democracy is that you have to act responsibly so that you don't create a chaos in the country that will allow military to take over the country. There's hope that by educating yourself about democracy, you will be able to get control of political power to determine your future. I am talking about the power to choose, the power to elect your leaders, and the power to make sure that your leaders are acting responsibly and honestly. If they're not acting responsibly, vote them out of office like they do in the United States. Again, this is the most important point. If you don't understand democracy, then you won't be able to utilize democratic principles to create a better society. Every person in the society has to learn more about what is expected about democracy, so that the more you learn, the more wiser you'll be in implementing democratic principles. And take a look at this picture, which I'll show you later. You can see the people are at the top and the leaders are at the bottom, because you have learned about, number one, because you have learned about democracy, have acted responsibly. 3, implemented democratic principles. You will have firm control of your leaders. If they don't behave honestly, do the right thing, they would be voted out of office. I truly believe that the more you learn about democracy, the more you will feel comfortable about implementing democracy, and your fear will be reduced about democracy. I want to share my own personal story of learning about democracy. When I came to this country, I was wondering why a military leader did not take over the country like in Burma. What I learned was that children are taught from very young age that power is in the hands of the people, and when the child grows up to become a military leader, he will actually believe that power is in the hands of the people. Also, there is a tradition of civilian leaders are in charge of the military. The President of the United States is called a commander-in-chief, and he is not a military leader, yet he controls the military along with the input of the Congress, who are elected by the people. In order for the military to respect the civilian leaders should have sufficient education in political science and politics. Legitimacy of a government official comes from that person's ability to govern effectively. Political science education is very important in the knowledge of how the government works. In America, military leaders are forbidden to get involved in politics to prevent the outcome of an election for any party which they may agree with. You need to ask questions of your leaders, such as who, what, when, where, how, and the most important question of why. By asking these questions will help you arrive at the truth and keep your leaders honest. Honest government is very important for democracy because if people do not believe in the government, then they will not participate in the government. The more people participate in the government, the more legitimate the government will be in the eyes of the people. Also, teach your children that military is not capable of running the country. When I was in the army, they taught me about how to fight wars, and they did not teach me about how to run a government. So if I became a military dictator, I wouldn't know how to run a government and would end up doing a poor job and run it to the ground. And that is what I saw with the military government in Burma. They ran the economy into the ground, ruined everybody's lives, and because they think they can run a country. Here's a question for you. Would you go to a person who read a book on medicine to cure you? In the military, you learn about the art of war. As a political scientist, you learn about politics and how to run a government. A person who learned how to run a government doesn't know the art of war and should not tell the military leaders how to fight a war. Same is for the military leaders. They don't have necessary education or knowledge about government and politics to run the government. There are also economists who are important for the economy. For example, the Syrian dictator Assad, who was a doctor and he was not trained in politics or political science education, is running the government. First thing we need to learn are the philosophers and political theorists, what these people have to say about government, politics, society, and other human behaviors. Knowledge from these philosophers and theorists will be the basis of foundation for democracy education. Some of these philosophers are Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, and Machiavelli, and see what they had to say. Then we can discuss Constitution and how Constitution is set up and what it does and what it offers. Democracy needs a lot of understanding in politics and confidence in each other that the people are going to do the right thing. We can create confidence in each other by writing on a small card that you want to learn about democracy and you want to work with your fellow citizens to achieve democracy in your country that will bring peace and prosperity for your country. Give these cards to your fellow citizens, which I'll show you later. Also, you can create a study group of 4 or 5 people who will teach each other about democracy. Each person is assigned to read certain pages, and you can meet once a week to teach each other what you have read. This way nobody has to read the whole book, and democracy lessons will go faster. I like this study group idea because later on, democracy requires a lot of organizing and constantly educating each other on issues that are important to the people. In order for democracy to be successful, people have to constantly work together, and idea of study group will be a good practice for the future. For example, each person can read 50 pages and share what he has learned with other people in the group. 5 people can finish reading 250 pages in 1 week. I want to share history of university education. In the West, university education came about 1,000 years ago, and a lot of the technology and new ideas are developed at the university level and trained scientists and engineers come from university. If you want to have a successful country, you have to develop the university system, and everyone should be able to go to university and learn the latest technology to create a better society and more wealth. Why do you need science education? If you want to create wealth, I have a $1 billion idea in this box, which I'll show you. Without engineering degree, it would be impossible for you to invent this $1 billion idea. There are two ways to increase nations' wealth. One way is to invade other countries, and another way is to create wealth by manufacturing products that people around the world will want to buy. So in this box, I have a $1 billion ideas, 3 of them that I can share with you. First one is, this is a smartphone. Apple already has invented this, and they have made billions of dollars. That they have made billions of dollars. Now, this one is called a smart watch. This is fairly new. You still have a chance to manufacture this and invent this as well. Or, third one is this box. Okay, this box can diagnose diseases in its early stages by taking your blood sample and the saliva sample, put it inside this box, and you plug it into the computer like this, and computer will keep track of the result. If you want to invent this box, then you will need electronics engineers, you'll need computer software writers, and you'll need many universities to graduate engineers and computer software writers. If you make $10 profit on each box and sell 1 billion boxes to people around the world, you will make $10 billion in profit, and at the same time you'll be helping people around the world live a better, disease-free life.
Here is the map of Southeast Asia. I was born in the country called Myanmar or Burma. It is in the east of India. You have China on the northeast, you have Thailand on the southeast. It's a beautiful country, and people are wonderful. I did not speak English until I was 15 years old. When I arrived to the United States, I had to learn about democracy in the United States because I lived under a military dictatorship in Burma and they ran down the country economically. People of Egypt, and I understand what you are going through.
Here's my diploma from California State University Long Beach, and I received a Master's of Arts in Political Science, and I am more than qualified to teach you about democracy. Always ask your political leaders to show you their diploma that they studied political science and they understand the principles that are behind democracy and how their government system works. If your leader has a law degree, they may have taken a few political science classes, and that is not enough to understand principles of democracy to safeguard it from dictators and ruthless political leaders that would take away people's freedom, such as Mohamed Morsi, who tried to take away people's power. He came up with a temporary constitutional declaration to give him unlimited powers and the power to legislate without judicial oversight or review of his acts. A key to better life will be university education in science, technology, engineering, medicine, and other important subjects. In the West, universities have been around for 1,000 years, and engineers and scientists are trained in universities, and some of the ideas and inventions come out of universities. You will need to set up a university system to educate thousands of engineers each year to invent and produce products that people around the world will purchase and make your country wealthy. The key to opening a door to a better life is university education. This diagram shows the evolution of power. In the past, monarchs, kings, pharaohs, czars, sultans, emperors, Mughals, Maharajas, Shah, Caesar, were in charge of the society. Most of these unelected, ruthless, leaders are no longer here, but you have dictators like Saddam Hussein, who is dead, and Assad are still here. Then, you have supporters of these unelected people who become royal family or rich elites, and they benefit from their positions that were granted by their rulers. The present day, you have dictators and ruling elites are in charge of many countries around the world, and many countries are practicing democracies and legitimately elected leaders. In the future, the people will be in charge of their government and determine their governmental policies by creating a direct democracy. I have a book that will talk more about direct democracy in the future. Direct democracy will allow each person to work with other people in the society to benefit even more. Here is a way where a group of 5 people can read 250 pages a week. Each person will teach each other what he or she has learned from reading each week. This is a great practice for democracy, where people need to organize and implement democracy through establishing political parties and interest groups working with the democratically elected government. Here is a basic diagram. Democracy will lead to peace, which will lead to more business and more jobs and wealth and better life. You have to get along with other people in your country and people of other countries. This diagram shows the evolution of power. In the past, monarchs, kings, pharaohs, czars, sultans, emperors, Mughals, Maharajas, Shah, Caesar, were in charge of the society. Most of these unelected, ruthless, leaders are no longer here, but you have dictators like Saddam Hussein, who is dead, and Assad are still here. Then, you have supporters of these unelected people who become royal family or rich elites, and they benefit from their positions that were granted by their rulers. The present day, you have dictators and ruling elites are in charge of many countries around the world, and many countries are practicing democracies and legitimately elected leaders. In the future, the people will be in charge of their government and determine their governmental policies by creating a direct democracy. I have a book that will talk more about direct democracy in the future. Direct democracy will allow each person to work with other people in the society to benefit even more. Here is a diagram of importance of peace and what it can do for you and for your country. Peace will lead to tranquility, which will attract investors to come and set up factories. Factories will employ you, your family, and your fellow citizens. Money you will make will lead to a better life for your family. If you have money, you can pay for children to go to universities and become engineers, scientists, and doctors. This will lead to a better and happy society. In order to start your study and implement democracy, you should write on a small card and share this declaration with your fellow citizens. I would like to study democracy and create a democratic society to achieve peace and wealth for myself and for my fellow citizens. We can learn and teach each other about democracy to benefit our country and future generations. Here's a question for the people of Egypt and the Middle East. Would it be wonderful, maybe in 10 years, you have peace and tranquility in the region where you can manufacture automobiles, airplanes, ships, television, smartphones, cameras? The question is, why is Japan and Korea building all of these products where the people of Middle East can build all of these as well? You and fellow citizens can invite the Japanese and Korean manufacturers to come and teach you how to manufacture above products the world can enjoy made in Middle East products. This is going to create wealth for you and fellow citizens and your country as well. The most important thing is that there's nothing that you cannot do if you set your mind to it. You will have to compromise with your fellow citizens to achieve peace. If you set your mind to manufacturing, you can invite potential investors from Japan and Korea to come and open up factories, and you and your fellow citizens will benefit. As an example, Japan has been peace 1945 for 71 years. South Korea has been in peace since 1953, for 63 years. These countries benefited from peace, and you can benefit as well. I've no doubt that you can set your mind to achieving peace, or you can buy more guns and kill each other and destroy cities and get your family members killed, and you have been doing this for last 3,000 years. You have to make a commitment to peace and to learn democracy and to learn how to compromise so that you will be able to start building a better life for you, your family, and your fellow citizens. Killing people and taking away their land to create more wealth can result in more killing. You have to make a true commitment to peace, and you have to teach your children and your grandchildren that they make the same commitment to peace so that they can have a better life. Before we begin this lecture, I want you to ask what, who, when, where, how, and why, every time a politician or your military leader say something. Also, I want you to ask, how can I use the information that I am going to learn in the future to benefit myself and my fellow citizens? If you don't utilize the information, it is just a waste of information and time, learning about it. What will tell you the real issue and not fake issue? Who will tell you the person's political interest and what their position on an issue? When will tell you when something is going to happen? Where will tell you the place of importance? How will tell you how something is going to happen or happened? Why will tell you the underlying motivation of political leaders and whether they are truthful or not?